All right, so we're back for part 2. And just to go back to this last example here, we finished by finding angle CBE and angle DBE. Vertical angles, again, are always congruent. So if you know one of them, you know the other, even if they don't give you a variable expression. All right, let's take number 5. Find x and the measure of angle ABC. Now, we have two angle measures. We have 8x plus 3 degrees, that's angle ABD. And we have 11x minus 24 degrees, which is for this angle, CBE. Now, notice that they are not adjacent. They share the same vertex, but they're not adjacent. Those are vertical angles. Vertical angles are always congruent. So this time, since these are congruent, that means their measures are equal. So 8x plus 3 equals 11x minus 24. So notice in number 4, we had to add the angles to equal something. But in this case, if they're congruent, we make them equal to each other. Now I'm going to move 8x by subtracting it from both sides. So this will become 3 equals 3x minus 24. Since I moved the variable to the right, I'm going to move negative 24, the constant, to the left by adding it. So we get 27 equals 3x, and then we'll divide by 3. So 9 is x. All right, now what else did they want? They said find measure of angle ABC. ABC is here. Now they don't give us an expression for that. However, let's take the 9, let's plug it in, substitute for the x's. So we'll do 8 times 9 plus 3, and that's 75 degrees. And if you plug 9 into here, you also get 75. Okay, so those are equal, they should be. How do we get ABC? Well, if I do my ABBA, what I was kind of doing on the front to label, if this is an A, then next to that is a B. Vertical angles, that's a B, and then that's an A. Now I know that's a little confusing because I also have points A and B, so I don't want to confuse you, but the A's, those are vertical, they're the same, and the B's, those are vertical, they're the same. But if we want to find this angle here, which is labeled an A, look at the straight line we have right here. Those two angles have to add up to 180. So if this is 75, this is what's left over, 180 minus 75, which is 105 degrees. So this angle here, the measure of angle ABC, is 105 degrees. Be very careful when you name angles. When you read this, the middle letter's the vertex, that's where the angle is. All right, so we've got a couple more vocabulary words here. The first one is perpendicular lines. The symbol for perpendicular is an upside down T. So perpendicular lines are two intersecting lines that form right angles. And right angles always measure 90 degrees. So if I draw two lines here, and if we know, if you see a box there, let's call this line A and this line B, we would say that these are perpendicular. A is perpendicular to B. Line A is perpendicular to line B. So perpendicular means it forms 90. Now here's the other thing that we know. Vertical angles are always congruent. So if this is 90, this is 90. But we also know that the angles next to each other here add up to 180. Well, 180 minus 90 is 90. And then these are vertical, so they're congruent. So what happens if you have one 90-degree angle, when two lines cross, we actually have all four of them. They're all the same. And the other word is complementary. Now, supplementary means they add up to 180. Complementary means they add to 90 degrees. So two angles whose sum, you can just put 90 here. Two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So if we have a right angle, now that's not complementary because complementary is two angles. But if I draw another ray, now we have two smaller angles. I'll call that 1 and 2. Together, they add up to the big angle, which is 90. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90. So that's complementary. Supplementary adds up to 180. Complementary adds up to 90. All right, and the last thing we'll do here is we'll take a look at this picture over here for number 6. Which angle pairs are supplementary? So supplementary means they add up to 180. Now it's always two angles. All right, so we have a couple answers here. If I trace this angle, there's CBR, then I trace the big angle next to it, CBL, notice that together they make that straight line. So here and here, that's going to add up to 180. So I can say angle CBR and, there's my and symbol, angle CBL. So that pair, that's an L, not an angle. But I could also do angle RBM, I'll put that in red, RBM, and angle MBL. Notice how together they make that straight line and they share this ray, this side, but again, they're just next to each other. So there's another pair, angle RBM, and angle MBL. Angle MBL. Okay, the last question, which pairs are complementary? Now that means they add up to 90. Now you'll be tempted to say angle CBM, but that's not complementary because that is a 90-degree angle. But if that's 90, all three of these together, if we put all three smaller angles together, do you notice how they make that straight line at the bottom? Together, these are 180. So if this is 180 total, but this angle here is 90, then that means these two smaller angles, there and there, have to be the other 90 degrees. So that's angle CBR and angle MBL. So those will be complementary. Those add up to 90. The last thing, there's not written on here, but we can also say that ray BC and ray BM, since they form 90, ray BC is perpendicular to ray BM. Perpendicular means it forms a right angle. So BC and BM, those rays are perpendicular, and that is the end of the notes.